Just yet. We'll get underway with this matchup as we load into Border. When they played in Charlotte, the bans were Flores and Nook on attack, and Maestro and Mira on defense. And would you look at that?
Hey.
Oh, would you look at that? They ban Flores right away. And it was Astralis who banned Flores, and it was Astralis who banned Maestro. They started on defense in Charlotte. They do so again. What's that saying? The more things change, the more they stay the same. Things are looking very, very similar. The same operators that were banned out.
We might just get a full-on rematch here, actually, between these two teams. So you know what? We don't think the result reflected correctly last time. Nope.
There's a gumming up the gears as the new Japanese operator of Azami, whose power rate in play is very high, and her influence rate has been through the roof. She's almost always played, if not banned, and a lot of teams have opted to remove her from play. DarkZero taking care of her. That's no surprise. Astralis final ban. Who do they get rid of? Is it Maestro again? No, it's Mira. So it was DZ who got rid of Mira before. That leaves Maestro available. That's really the only change right now. Same side, same map, 3 of the 4 same operator bans.
Interesting. I mean, so the thing about Asami is that normally we talk about Asami, we say like Bank is like the one map where she really comes to shine because of these like long lines of sight and you can like really shape the bomb site itself. But Border or Coastline, if that map was still in the map pool, I think that's also a place where Asami can get played on pretty much every single bomb site because it's such a lethal map to play. I mean, Border, you can't just sit on the bomb site and bunker up and be like, oh, all is good in defense. No, you gotta, as Jobro said it, you gotta create these layers, right? Stall for time on defense, you know, extend out on the map, set up problems for the attackers to solve, and Asami's really good at that. So it being removed from the side of DarkZero when they're starting on attack as well makes a lot of sense because if they can muster up, you know, 3-4 rounds before the side swap, they're in a great position for their own defensive side once they get there.
Starting on that upstairs bomb site for Astralis will be this armory and office area, even though it's not called office. Archives, as it's officially referred to as. The office component is behind it, just with the fountain as the adjoining room. In terms of defensive setup for Astralis, we have seen teams, and we saw last week on the Border matches that we witnessed, use this Oryx to roam very quickly. What does Oryx bring to this particular bomb site?
Speed, momentum, violence, and of course the option to play both on the first floor and get right back up through those hatches once again. And that just gives you like one more layer to play with because normally if a defender is playing downstairs, you can quite easily get isolated and there's no real way back up to the bomb site. But because you're Oryx, you always have that option of jumping up through a hatch, which gives you that another layer to work with. And that's exactly what we see here. Forrest getting very active, very aggressive, and trying to find as many drones as possible. Already 3 off board for DarkZero.
That's unsurprising to see this early bit of action from Astralis taking the heat to DarkZero. You talked about the layers, as did Jobro. And in terms of the layers of the defense for Astralis, every time we see them, they get very active on the roam. They like to hold off site, and they can do some serious damage. The problem is for Astralis, this season, the term we use to describe it is very feast or famine. They either get an opening pick or they get doomed, and Forrest on that Oryx operator runs right into a Claymore from Eclipse. DZ don't need to break a sweat. Immediately, they get that very first pick off of the roam from the Oryx and open things up with half of the round to go.
That's a tough start because now you lost that, you know, bottom 4 layer, and now support from the other members, for example, on the player on East Stairs is limited. Now Iconic looking to get aggressive, trying to even back that man count, but DC, they're all just sitting outside the building waiting for something to happen.
There's another Adrenal Surge that goes out. Pambazoo still has 1 left, rocking the Finca. 2 LMGs on the board for DarkZero. Look at that. Iconic crosses over to Canadian, and he didn't know where he was coming from. Iconic still holding this area by staff. Shuttle not too far off inside of security. DZ with a pretty good spread outside of the building, but the problem is getting indoors. Rat-a-tat-tat of the LMG now as NJR has made his way indoors. He's just down below and catches Shuttle quite easily, actually. Down goes Hyper, though. Both of these teams getting good licks in on each other, but it's a stalemate at 3v3 with 45 seconds left.
And at some point, someone's got to bite and take a whole chunk because right now, as you said, they're just licking each other. Not really a whole lot of damage is being done. And it's a 1-for-1 trade in both scenarios and no real map control being guaranteed. But now DC are looking to execute in this next 10 seconds.
So much licking, Nick. It's really just going to come down to who gets the better lick in. before the round ends. And it's iconic to start off this execute. 20 seconds left. Astralis with the numbers advantage. Smoke to choke out Panbazoo as he wants in towards Armory. He's got a clip side by side. Those are the last two players from DZ and the last two hopes. As Iconic holds this cross, but J90 is there with shotgun out. This is effectively doomed. Panbazoo's on the ground, but he gets cut across from DP Fire. Insecurity, and it turns out Astralis were the team who got the better licks in, and that is it for round number 1.
Astralis is better and a good first round for them. Despite that unfortunate situation with Forest and the Claymore, well, Iconic, he held on to that security-ish area on that balcony for a very long time. And DC, the one critique I have is that the break room door, you know, the room next to security, that door was never really opened up until the tail end of that round. And that's why Iconic could move around so freely and go between East stairs and security and find 2 of those kills in a comfortable position and rotation for the defensive side. Normally we see teams open up the break room door immediately and try and cut that rotation in half, so the only way out from security is if you drop down that hatch like we mentioned earlier, where only Oryx could jump back up again. It wasn't done, it was punished, it was well done from Astralis, and they also get the round because of it. So they start on Armory, now we're going downstairs to the bathroom teller's area instead, where of course we're going to be extending up above once again to add those layers and expand or extend out on this map as much as possible. We see my DP5 putting down a magnet on the east stairs, which means that they're going to try and have focus pretty much at every single entry point for the attackers. Security, east stairs, the bomb site itself, and probably something in Armory Archives as well. So DC have to choose where they want to go from, and this time they'll actually have to get inside the building and challenge Astralis somewhere on the map. You can't win from outside the building, it just won't work.
Well, you said get inside the building. It was something that troubled DarkZero through that mid portion of the round, but Panbazoo's been gifted an entry in. The door gets shot away, and just like that, look at the freebie onto J90. Round number 2. It's the first kill for DarkZero. Again, even though in round number 1 it was a Claymore kill, it doesn't matter. You still get the opening pick. You're still in an advantage. The advantage was squandered by DZ on the previous round because of the play, still off-site from Astralis. How is that going to work here on this bathroom teller's defense?
I mean, with Astralis being so spread out, they need as many people alive as possible because they need somewhere in the map that they can play together. And, well, with one man missing, that just means that now you're spread even thinner, or you're forced to grant, you know, DarkZero even more map control. And we see now already Iconic falling off that security position, but the C4... Nice, Forest.
And JR on the soft wall of Armory, outside of the building. Getting in might be a trouble for DZ, but if you're Astralis, you can still bring the heat outside of the confines of the map. This has been quick action. 2 players dead already, still over half of the round to go. DZ inside the building, a second nitro cell, primed and ready from shuttle. It's a pre-placed just by the hatch that's upstairs inside of Archives. Mute Jammers are going to stop DarkZero's advance into the very crucial part of the map called Workshop. And, well, it actually looks like the Mute Jammers affected all of us, friends. But we're back. Onto the pulse from above. Still holding this angle. Forest Nitro Cell doing good work earlier on that we talked about. Getting that opening pick.
Oh my
Still
God.
there. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
They're coming for him.
And it's Canadian who goes onto the ground, and Astralis finds their mark. It's Forest to collect 2 with the UMP in hand. Nicely done. DP fire from inside of the bomb site. Guns down Eclipse. It's Hyper in a 1v4. This offsite play from Astralis has been fantastic so far through these 2 rounds.
I mean, right now they're sacrificing the opening kill, but then getting every single kill after that fact. And now Hybrid, 44 bullets and 44 seconds, has to find 4 kills to find a round for his team. And it's a little bit unlikely because you got so many things working against you. The goo mines, default cameras, the pulse scanner, etc. And there's just no real time for Hybrid to work with. I doubt this is doable.
Spotted on a cam, saw the goo mine, nice precision onto the head of Forest, expecting a push from up over lobby, and that's exactly what he finds. Mute Jammer not too far off, but that's not the goal. The goal are the 3 remaining players from Astralis. Not all of whom are on the bomb site. Hyper knows that one of them is at the soft wall that just got reinforced.
An arm.
They might be able to capitalize off of it, but Shuttle comes to the rescue before Hyper can get a meaningless kill. And that's a second in a row for Astralis as they've taken both of the rounds here on Border.
Astralis did a really good job of collapsing together. Like 3 members just chased down Troy inside of ventilation. You know, Pulse walk down the hallway and through the door. 2 people on the soft wall started wall banging it, trying to get an angle to Troy. Troy didn't know where to look. There was too many different scenarios that could play out there. And then right after that, they find Pambasu inside of customs. 2 people swing him. The first guy injures him. The second guy secures the kill. And that just means that DarkZero are now done and dusted. And they only had just entered the building, and immediately Astralis are there to challenge them inside of ventilation. And that's not where the bomb site will be. So normally when you defend ventilation, attackers will go upstairs, either take security and then work on armory and archives, or they'll just go for armory archives directly and try and get a foothold above, utilize the vertical destruction. We see NGR go from Buck to Sledge with that attacker repick, maybe signifying this similar playstyle. But the bottom line here is DC needs to stop fishing for kills, trying to find them, because besides that very first opening kill of both rounds, Astralis aren't giving anything else up, and DC need to actually get in and work for those kills, because the way Astralis is playing is correct. They're playing aggressive, they're playing dynamically, and they're just swinging with 2 people against 1 attacker wherever they can, and at the absolute worst case scenario, Astralis will end up trading 1 for 1, which will always favor the defenders, because you of course keep that map control, which the attackers need to try and get.
This reminds me of the Astralis match that we watched on Theme Park, if you recall, how aggressively they held off-site, and there were some issues that were being had to try and pin them down. That was what? That was against... Who was it against again?
Don't ask me, because I do not remember.
I'm trying to recall exactly what match it was. I think it was against Mirage. But the difference was that with Mirage, Mirage was really struggling against that Astralis offsite play. And if Astralis can work well with the full team together, then they can succeed on just about any bomb site, anywhere off the map, even if they keep surrendering these opening picks, which has happened again. DarkZero walk in, they take down Shuttle, Canadian tries, or Pambasu tries to get out, he gets downed, picked back up with the Adrenal Surge, and finished off by Iconic. So Astralis do surrender that first pick, but it is largely just a trade. There's no advantage gained, and if anything is now, you're on the heels of another Astralis player, it's given DZ a burst of confidence to potentially catch Astralis as they rotate to get back to the bomb site to account for the fact that their numbers have dwindled.
That's what they gotta do. They gotta get in there and fight. But once again, I saw 2 members. They swing immediately onto Hybrid, and he's off the board. Now NTR follows Troop, and it's just eclipsing Canadian in a 2v3. And sure, they got a bit of map control, but it cost them 2 members.
A workshop defense downstairs as well, so you have to clear out the top floor before you translate that to the bomb site. Canadian has no kills to his name. This is a bit of an oddity for how Canadian has been playing over the last 4 play days. He's actually led his team through the halfway point of a lot of these matches. When you've seen your traditional players like NJR or even Pambasu not exactly having the greatest results. Him and Eclipse are a good duo to work on, the 2 oldest members of the team, but now it's just all on the Canadian, who breaks that goose egg, gets a kill, but watches his teammate fall to Forest. 1v2, Iconic on half. DMR in the hands of Canadian as he creeps up. He's got the diffuser too, no?
Not even upstairs.
It's very far away, and they know it. And they know his position. As all these Banshees are going to go off, Cams as well to give his position away. Diffuser will need to be retrieved. Look at the destruction onto the wall from the DMR, but you're just telling them where you're coming from and telegraphing your entry back to that diffuser. Let's see some pings in as Canadian grabs that diffuser and now cuts off over towards 90 with a flash. Another flash goes down, but it's Iconic there, who's not blinded.
See Bandasami. So once they go to their defensive half, that is not available to them. It's not a tool they can use. Mirrors off the board as well. So it will come down to gunplay and information game, as it has been for Astralis, you know, the Pulse, the Valkyrie, etc. And I just think Astralis, they play so much better off dynamic instant defense than what we usually see from DarkZero, unless we see Troy on that Pulse that he, you know, so often brings in maps like Cafe.
All good points to be made. Border is a coin toss here in North America. 52% so far in favor of the defenders, 48% in favor of the attackers, based on the, to be fair, the only 2 plays that we've seen from it at a top level. In terms of bomb site effectiveness, they're, well, it's kind of all over the place, but I mean, it sure looks like Ventilation Workshop is leading the way in terms of which bomb site is most successful. But again, small sample size. Astralis have run away with this first half irrespective of what happens over the next 3 rounds, they've won this first half in the fact that they are not going to allow DZ to emerge with a lead. 3 rounds to 3 rounds is the worst it's going to get. So all told, pretty decent, but if the theory holds that this is an attacker-favored border, you want to get that 4th round. That's most critical. Now Astralis' window is the remaining 3. They just need to win a single round, and that's it. But of course, you want to run up the score. So, good position to be in if you are Astralis, but look at that. Some things never change, and that's the first kill going in favor of DarkZero. Hasn't really mattered through these 3 rounds that we've seen, but again, it's DZ with an early lead.
That it is, but then again they slow down. Now they just wait around and see if Astralis will lash on out. We see this player bottom east stairs, I believe that's Iconic on the Lesion. Almost got caught by NGR, but not quite just yet. And Shuttle still has control of security. Forest has below in customs. You got those black eye Valkyrie cameras granting you information. You have no C4 to work with, sadly, so there's nothing like vertically that Astralis can really do. They have a single impact and of course can do a bit of damage, but that's the best you're gonna get. DC are working their way through the map slowly here. Of course, time has not been an issue yet. We have not gotten to the bomb site with 0 seconds left, because normally in the mid-round area, just about right now, is when Astralis, they start finding kills out of nowhere.
3 silhouettes right now near the MPX of Forest. They have a 6th sense, a deadly premonition that he's in here, but he's around the corner. Flashes will continue to go. This rat angle, I think they do know. If you look at where they're positioned, they suspect someone's in there, but they haven't been able to follow up just yet.
They don't know where exactly.
Look at this. Forest will creep up. Forest will creep up. There's a nade to go out, but he misses it on the Panbazoo. An opportunity lost. And with it, Astralis might have just blown the round. It's a 5v2 for DarkZero. 50 seconds left. Plenty of time. It's J90 and Iconic. 1 off-site. That's it. And Iconic won't be able to do much. Taken out by Hyper, it's J90 now off-site himself. Denies a flawless for DarkZero, but what more can he get? In a tough spot, bullets tracing through the walls is just a tiny bit of HP for J90 is all he has left. And trying to play cat and mouse with the Zofia. Can't seem to track him down. There's the IQ instead to J90. Another as well, it's NJR softened up. Is a clutch here about to happen? Can J90 pull this off? Diffuser goes down. This is where things are going to get tough.
Oh, they know where he is. I see it helping.
Hard right of the doorway. He's got the information, but he looks down instead of up. Try as much as you'd like, but ultimately, it's just simply too tall of a mountain to climb. And Astralis suffers their very first loss on defense. DZ, after their timeout, break their own goose egg and pick up round number 1.
They do it. I mean, it was so close. If that, if Forest instead of Customs had gotten those 2 kills on Panbazoo and NGR instead of Stockroom instead, that could have been a completely different round because it would have been 3 versus 3 instead of that 5 versus 2. It was a close call, but Panbazoo was there to strike when it mattered. A grenade and an LMG kill back-to-back secured DC a massive lead, and that massive lead got them the win. So now he's trying a clutch from J90, but nothing came out of it, and we're gonna go to Armory once again. And I think if you're Astralis right now, honestly, just look at the first 45 seconds of the round, and that's like your one area that is a big weakness, right? You're sacrificing opening kill with no reward time and time again, and sure, it didn't matter the first 3 times, but it is going to eventually be a problem, and most importantly, you want to fix that now before you go to attack, because when you're on the attacking side, that's when losing that member really early on gets very crucial, because you need every single person to work together to try and gain up this map control, because DarkZero, I have no doubt, will play a similar style on border, because every team just recognizes that you need to be proactive, right? This is not like an Astralis way of playing this map. This is a pretty general way that you play border. It just happens that Astralis is so good at it.
Well, Armory for a 3rd attempt now by Astralis. 1-1. 1-1, lost 1. These cute plays from Astralis are entertaining to watch, and we define them as cute because they are. I mean, they're unorthodox in comparison to many other teams in the North American League, and certainly unorthodox when compared to other regions. And for the first 3 rounds, it worked somewhat effectively, but I think you nailed it when you said you need to watch those first 45 seconds. You are consistently at a disadvantage. You've won the rounds, which is great, But at the end of the day, you want to set yourself up as best as possible. Is continually losing the first player setting yourself up for success? I don't think it's part of some greater plan here, but hey, guess what happens?
Oh no.
There's another opening pick, and it goes to DarkZero. I cursed it right in front of our eyes, but it's a trade back very quickly on. Canadian out of action. Down goes the Ash. Canadian now 1-5 on an operator whose pick rate is in the basement.
That it is. Iconic finds Hyper, ace off the board, so no hard breach left from DarkZero, and that's really going to add insult to injury because it is Armory bomb site, which means none of those exterior walls can be opened up, so now DC have to force the way through this map, and Forest still roaming down below as well, means more trouble you can handle. Only 3 players left, but you got 6 drones.
Oh, there's a rotate into Passport. As you can see, the Buck shoots away at this. Forest is primed and ready. This benefits Astralis huge because even if the Buck wins the fight, you've still killed 20 to 30 seconds down below. Again, sometimes roaming is not all about kills, but in this particular instance, Forest is going to want one. Fails at it. NJR capitalizes. Numbers go back to even, but as you pointed out, no hard breach for DarkZero. We don't know if the Selmas went off on the wall. Maybe, but either way, that could be a mortal blow to DarkZero's chances.
Doesn't look to be the case because the rotates comes the staircase, but Pamazoo strikes true and shuttle off the board. 3v2 now with 50 seconds left. It's winnable, but it's going to be difficult.
Things were favoring Astralis. They were in a good position. Very important picks, but now they're going to just walk their way in. Iconic is there. Grenade, or rather a Nitro Cell, goes out after getting his first kill onto Eclipse of this round. Now, heading over towards 90. 2 players from DZ to C. 30 seconds left. Some intel might be available, but nothing so far that seems to be relayed to Iconic. See the silhouette of a player over by security. Diffuser is inside of office, and there goes a drone. Did they spot Iconic, though? That's the real question. I don't think they did, because they're firing at a wall that he's nowhere nearby.
This is smart.
So instead, he sits here, loses his opportunity to take out NJR. So what do? You go back to that Diffuser. There's the Nitro Cell! Tossed perfectly by Iconic, and the lineup onto the Buck with the clock saying 0. Count your lucky stars, literally. No. Astralis takes the round.
There was a C4 he threw away earlier. So they just walked on in, assumed the C4 was from a dead member maybe or something like that, and then the C4 pays off? I've never seen that before. Normally a C4 will be planted vertically at an angle, and you have no idea where it is, but you look here, Iconic, he tossed it 20 seconds earlier in the round, and here comes the winning moment, taking out the Diffuser carrier. It gives you the 1 versus 1. The timer is ticking down in your favor, sub 3 seconds, and you get that iconic moment once again from the player himself with that same name. And I thought about it when I saw the 1v2, and it's Iconic alive. It's always winnable, there's always a chance, and I think it was Jacob who spoke about this before the game started, saying that he has to kind of show up and lead his team forward for Astralis to get back into this stage, and 7-1 scoreline right now, 7-1-3 in fact, and he's had a stellar game so far, and with that round, putting that onto his team single-handedly in a 1v2 clutch is another great example of that.
This is the Iconic that we saw at the Charlotte Major.
Yes.
This is the Iconic that we are used to seeing here in the North American League, but it gone a little bit cold. And this, I think, was just talked about on the desk quite well, was that, yes, you see some players, Iconic in particular, having bad games without DP fire and without them being able to play on LAN, and that's because he's trying to do too much. And now that the team is there, DP fire stats are fine. 4-3-3 on a support/utility player. That's pretty good. You now allow Iconic to be Iconic, and he makes plays that are Iconic, and that's just how it works. So that was a great round from DarkZero, even though the misplay towards the end was not necessarily ideal on grabbing that Diffuser and dying to the Nitro Cell. Either way, DZ had the advantage. They worked well through the mid-round, as we see them do consistently, but Astralis were just a little bit better. It's the final round of Astralis' defense, and again, it's a full-court press, well off the bomb site, trying to rebuff any push from DZ that would lead them to head into the building.
And no one's dead yet. The first 60 seconds off the board now, which means that Astralis have not given away the opening kill yet, but of course, if the things they follow along the way they have so far, it's just a matter of seconds before somebody from Astralis will fall, because DZ has every single opening kill so far, basically, with some quick trades sometimes, of course, happening, so we can kind of equalize it, but once again, there it is.
Opening pick for DarkZero. That is 6 7-4-6. Even if one of them was a trade and another was really close behind, it was still DZ to start things off. So Astralis, again, will need to work on their clutch factor after surrendering that first pick. DP Fire could have been next to follow Iconic in the grave, yet instead he gets away. A nice shrewd play from below as he engages with the Super Shorty to create a line of sight. Can't accomplish much with it. Second logic bomb goes off, and, well, there it is from behind. Canadian walks in, guns down DP Fire. Close to the bomb site, Shuttle picks up his third kill as he retreats into the bathroom. So workshop defense. It went in favor of Astralis, and that's what ultimately prompted the timeout from DZ.
That it was. We see now DC trying to take that vertical control up above, but it's just really Pambasu right now creeping around. Oh, there it is. Hybrid can come for support, so now they want to try and take this fight.
They're isolating the last couple players from Astralis. It's Forest starting to fall to DarkZero. Nitro Cell goes out. It's successful. Hyper goes bye-bye, and Shuttle picks up kill number 2. Now to watch the hatch with shotgun in hand, opening lines of sight towards lobby. It's a good position for Astralis to be in, but DZ does have a numbers advantage. Softening up Pambasu from below as J9O can retreat, and now Shuttle has vacated the bomb site as well. So Astralis will play from the back. They do not have any actual control of the bomb site, so it's incumbent upon DZ to get down there. They have 15 seconds to do that. Surveying the wreckage through the floor below, now they finally drop, and Astralis will go for the retake. But look, Pambasu is at the doorway. He's primed and ready. A retake can get easily caught. NJR here's one, and there's Pambasu. Excellent coverage. J9O swings, claims NJR, but the timer will continue to run for the diffuser, and Eclipse secures the final kill. DZ scrapes by on that first half with 2 rounds. Astralis the lead, but after the timeout, DZ come alive, and that's the first half in the books.
It is, and I mean, this is looking okay for both teams, right? Astralis getting 4 and DC getting 2. They can both be in a somewhat happy position with that, but with how close some of those rounds were, you gotta wonder, you know, DC, how are you doing mentally? Giving up that round to Iconic in the 1 versus 2, losing every single round, or 4 rounds where you have the opening kill as well, you can do better. In that final round, DC took every single second that they had available to spare to make sure they did not throw or lose that 3 versus 2 advantage, and it worked out for them. But it's a close call once again. 2-4 scoreline, Sideswap comes around. Remember, Asami's off the table, Mira's off the table, so our eyes are really lying on the information operators, right? Canadian, I said, he often plays the poster maps like Cafe, might bring it here. He's on the Valkyrie. So Valkyrie, Echo, Pulse, the movable information, or that you can put anywhere on the map really, I wouldn't really count Maestro that much in this regard, is really what's going to sway your favor on defense, where you gain information, you can then make a decision with that information, and just like Astralis, you can play it forward, aggressively, try and find picks, you know, those 2 versus 1 engagements that we always like to talk about, where the defenders have to make the first move, because if you get to the bomb site in a 5 versus 5 situation, often you will find the attackers being the favor. They got more utility, they got better guns, and once they get the map control, you're stuck in the corner on defense, and that's not where you want to be. So Oryx, of course, aggressive, Lesion's aggressive. Every single member over here can take fights, because most of this gadgetry is already being put down before the round even starts. It's only really Lesion who's gonna, you know, charge up those goo mines, and arguably Hyper and Oryx that can like charge through walls, but everything else is already done and dusted.
I think it's a bit of an unorthodox bomb site to go to first, given that it's bathroom tellers and we don't see Armory brought out, or?
Honestly, I wouldn't say it's that crazy, because Bathroom gives you a really big map to work with, because the bomb site itself isn't really accessible unless you clear the entire map. So now, essentially, Astralis have to attack from one end all the way to the other, but this LMG doing so much damage to the wall makes their life so much easier.
And it finally happened, by the way. Astralis gets the opening pick, a second to follow right away, and Iconic trades out most of his HP to accomplish that. He wasn't alone in that effort, though, but both Pambasu and Hyper are down for the count. All 8 kills from Pambasu in the grave, no longer available. And still, with this being a bathroom teller's defense for DarkZero, plenty of bodies off-site. Canadian from above right now inside a staff area. You saw Eclipse over by Armory 2. Canadian tries for the fadeaway. Can't do it. Iconic collects kill number 2. And it's Astralis on the precipice of a flawless round, half of the round. But then they go. They lose Forest. Not ideal for them if they want some posterity here, but still very firmly in the driver's seat. You talked about clearing the map, Nick, but there's a single vault that's stopping Astralis from being in the bomb site at the moment. The question that they need to answer before they can do that, where are NJR and where are Eclipse? And they found one of them so far. Eclipse spotted upstairs inside of security. The jig is up, but with a hatch open can rotate. Not playing Oryx, instead playing Legion. Beautiful shot onto Iconic. Goodness gracious. Read well by Eclipse, somebody with as much experience as he has. You know that he's prepared for it. NJR now in the line of fire, and it's a trade-off. Eclipse picks up yet another, and he'll be the one to try to clutch out for his team. In a tough spot. 2 kills to be found. Castle barricades there. J90 having some difficulties, but guess what? You got enough bullets to miss a couple times and then realign. First round on attack for Astralis is successful. They pick up the first kill and then roll towards the rest of the round.
It's just not fair when you see like a Sophia LMG with 150 bullets fighting against the Castle UMP. I mean, it's just, I mean, it happened on the East Stairs, and I was thinking, there's no way, NGR, you're gonna swing this gunfight and actually think you're going to win. And he did swing it, and I was right, like, they just didn't win it because there's just no way. DC tried to play around the fact that they knew where the diffuser was, and it was in a really good position for the defenders. It was on that security balcony leading towards East Stairs, right out in the open from that 1 kill on Forest they had found earlier. And I will say, Eclipse played really well around this safe area of security and break room, where NGR was a little bit far forward, playing a little bit more aggressive, and there was like a mismatch between them. Unfortunately, that Castle barricade in the hallway kind of cut them from helping one another, but I do wonder if there's a chance that NGR and Eclipse could have ganged up together and played that 2 versus 2 or 2 versus 3, rather than separating themselves into multiple 1 versus 1s. It was a nice try and a good effort, but ultimately Astralis, they played better together as a team, they collapsed together at 2v2, and therefore they came out the victor. 5-2 now with DC under pressure. We're going to ventilation instead. And as you mentioned, Parker, one of the more successful bomb sites statistically on Border in this small sample size.
And heading into today's matchup, Border only being played twice. There were 6 attempts on Ventilation Workshop, and it went in favor of the attackers. It went in favor of the defenders 4 of those 6 times. So not too bad, ultimately. When it was played versus Astralis and DZ in the first half, it was split 50-50. DZ won it once, Astralis won it once. So really not helping the overall pick rate one way or another, but still not ultimately changing much too, so we'll see. DZ obviously making a dedicated effort to avoid that armory bomb site though, and that is something that's interesting because teams love to go there, even if it does actually have the worst win rate of the 3 sites that we've seen played on this map.
I feel like Armory, whenever I watch people play and when I play myself, is like, it's such a comfort pick because of how Border was in the past. And I feel like you can do, like, I mean, we see it right now from DC, they're basically doing the same setup you would on Armory defense, but on ventilation, which gives you more to work with, and it's just stalling more time.
No Maestro ban, by the way, means that it can be brought out. Iconic, the 2nd time in a row that he's got the opening pick, but Canadian doesn't lose that duel twice. Teams trading back and forth. We're halfway through the round, and almost half of the server is dead. Iconic, down, Forest, down, J90 could have joined, and down goes DP Fires. Pambazoo immediately relocates after that kill. Astralis now trail in numbers. It's DZ, but they're not exactly in the healthiest spot. Pambazoo and Hyper are both mortally wounded, still upright, but a kiss away from death. And there's Hyper finished off by the explosive of J90's lifeline. Suddenly what little was left of the alibi is gone. Pambazoo might be the next one in the line of fire, but he holds a tight angle, waiting patiently. He knows that somebody from Astralis was over there. The flash from Buck had been thrown in, but shuttle no follow-up. He'll have to drone himself in. A minute to go.
Doesn't see him though, not yet. Oh, Pambazoo actually playing the blind angle. Gets the drone, of course. Now they know about each other's whereabouts. Pambazoo arguably with the advantage, of course. Diffuser outside now as well means that DC are in full control with just J90 with 1 HP left to clutch a 1v2.
I got spam pings right now on the position here as J90 spotted away, but Pambazoo has been so lethal with his shots, and that continues onwards as DarkZero gets their own round on defense. Good time. No timeout for DarkZero, by the way. We talked about it when they blew their timeout after round number 3. You said it was a good time at that point for them to call it, which, yes, is true, and it definitely kept them in the game, but they have no parachute left. This is it. They can't slow the game down. They can't do all that much. They're just going to be playing, and that's it. No, again, no ripcord to pull. But for DZ, they look more poised. Workshop goes in the defender's favor. So again, the most defender-favored bomb site on this map goes back into the win column of the defenders. Can come out one more time, providing that we make it that far. Yeah. Because the next 2 rounds, the bomb site could still be locked, and that could be all she wrote. Again, No Armory Archives defense upstairs. Third defense for DarkZero. They opt to go back to the bomb site they went to in their very first defense, which was that Bathroom Tellers defense. They weren't successful, but again, there's a reason why they're avoiding that top floor bomb site that teams trip over themselves to play.
Yeah, now we gotta look at how they're gonna do things differently this time around, because last time DC went on this bathroom defense, it was Astralis who won, and it wasn't looking too good. Essentially, Astralis, they injured security, they got 2 easy, really quick kills onto a DarkZero, and there was a bit of a scrappy fist where like DC tried to fight back, and eventually, of course, ended up losing the round. So, will they stop them in security, or will they just fall back off and play, you know, around the fact that they have so many different rooms to work? We see it right now: security, break room, Easters balcony, Easters itself, archives, armory, castle barricades. There are so many different areas where DarkZero can choose to take the gunfights. It doesn't have to be in the immediate room of which Astralis tries to enter. We see Astralis right now actually kind of reconsidering their points of entry, trying to open up doors and create a bunch of noise in different areas of the map to keep DarkZero guessing as to where they're coming from. But just like last time, they just walking through security and doing so much damage to Pambazoo.
Damage is being done. They're still healing for Astralis. They find the opening pick yet again, 3 rounds in a row. It certainly seems like it's just the attackers getting the opening pick here on Border. Even if the defenders might have a distinct advantage, still they start things off, and they start things off well. To try and match Pambazoo's total of 12 kills, Iconic really leading the way for his team. He didn't get the first pick in this round. That was Shuttle to do it, but Iconic drew blood through rounds 7 and 8. He's still upright, still has Adrenal Surges, 1 in his pocket. Both nades used out, so not a ton of utility available for this Finka. Instead, arguably one of the best guns in the game in your hands, and that's what you're going to be bringing to this gunfight.
Not looking good here. Eclipse stuck in a room, and of course Hyper has to win this gunfight or fall back, sacrificing his teammate. But no, Eclipse 2 also fell back. That means that DC lives longer. But now the entire map control has been sacrificed onto the attack inside, except for Canadian looking for a cheeky flank.
You might be able to find it. It seemed like Astralis was without information. They've only got 3 drones remaining, so not a ton of intel that they can gather off of that. And with a minute left, you might not even have time, even with the numbers advantage you have. Eclipse will continue to sit on that 5 HP for DarkZero. Other than that, all the defenders sitting pretty well, I would say.
Yeah.
Oh, and pretty well is pretty good. Forrest, with the exothermic charge, tries to open things up. Canadian answers back. DZ gets their very first kill, trying to keep things close, but Canadian knows that the jig is up as there goes the sledge from above. Almost takes out Iconic, by the way. Good reflexes. Just that how much damage that DMR can do. Astralis are inside of the bomb site. They can escort the diffuser in, and it's in the hands of Shuttle being planted. DZ picks off DP fire. Shuttle successful in getting that diffuser down, and now it's Iconic's turn to take damage as the final Adrenal Surge goes out. Janano has a nice cross from inside a bathroom looking towards lobby. He can catch anybody should they opt to push towards the diffuser, but the only problem is DZ are retaking from above, and there's openings that have been created by the Astralis crew. Still 1 player's up. Does Hyper know this? Iconic's looking the wrong way, but he feels something. And there he is to take down Hyper and immediately pivots. So no upstairs control. NJR finishes off Iconic. J90 loses the fight to Eclipse. Suddenly, this is so winnable. Shuttle will need to clutch out in a 1v1, but Eclipse clutches it, and he has 2 seconds of time to get to it. Goodness gracious, what timing and what clutch potential from DarkZero to win the round and keep the match close.
That seemed impossible, right? You gotta go all the way upstairs and find out where Iconic is laying while also retaking the site itself. You have no HP, no good weapons, you have no information available, but Eclipse just walks in, takes the gunfight with confidence. He wins it out and therefore puts himself in a position to get that 1 versus 1 against the last remaining member on the floor. Astralis are trying to play for time. They were 2 seconds off. If DC had been any slower, even if they found the final kill, they wouldn't have had time to defuse successfully. So it was very, very close. It was not calculated correctly from the side of Astralis. DC capitalizes, they clutch, and they will show us an Armory bomb site defense as well here after successfully winning both ventilation and bathroom bomb site against all odds.
Wow, 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 wow. It's just... We talk about clutches, we see them so seldomly, but a Bank in particular tends to be the epicenter of clutches as of late. Yes. That open area bomb site on Bank has provided probably more clutches than any other site in the entire game, and maybe even across all regions. More clutches than everywhere else combined, but Eclipse putting his name down for one. For a player like Eclipse, who's been playing for 7 years at this point,
long career,
composing a highlight reel of things that he's done in this game would take ages. But you can add that last play to it for how well he and DarkZero were able to play in the post plant, and especially with only 2 seconds left before time ran out. That said, we talked about DZ's allergy to this bomb site. Well, guess what? They're not going to go to customs. Workshop is locked, bathroom is locked, so you have to go upstairs to Armory. And are we going to see some innovative plays from DarkZero that get under the skin of Astralis? Maybe prompt Astralis to get their tactical timeout used up? Well, who knows? Shuttle gets into the building. He gets chewed up by some of the DZ players and immediately hops out. That's it for the first bit of action.
It's actually a nice vertical angle that Hyber had through the hatch inside of office here, through the soft wall in towards Tellers, through that window jump in. Nate goes out, doesn't do any damage, but clears out the mute jammer. So Astralis showing a clear preference to take this office area. Of course, Heartbreach-wise, they do have a Thermite to work with as well as an Ace. So plenty of different ways for them to deal with the walls themselves. Canadian, of course, on the information operator once more, has a C4 down below, can do some damage. Hybrid drops down as well to join him, perhaps. The double C4 duo looking to try and get proactive. Shuttle missed his opportunity there for a kill, and a 1 C4 about to be sacrificed for a rotate. Second one gets the kill. Big value for DC.
Very first time that a defending team has gotten the first pick, by the way, but it's not long before Astralis can get one of their own, taking out Eclipse, saying thanks for all you accomplished last time around. Hyper picking off Iconic. Forrest hops in, finishes Hyper, gets back out. This is a frenzy right now with just a minute over to go. Just over a minute to go in round number 10. Astralis have been searching for this match point, but they have been denied it for the last 2 rounds. They came so close. In round number 7, they had 5 of them. That's pretty good. But now, again, showing why this is a defender-sided map here in North America as DZ start to run it up on their defensive half.
No nades left from Astralis, which means these walls that are jammed up are going to be hard to deal with unless Sophia goes below and does some vertical damage, but there's not really enough time for that right now, so they'll have to try and problem solve differently. Exothermic Charge goes in the corner, but gets shut down from the flank. It's a 1v3 for J90.
And I think a timeout is going to be looming in Astralis' future right now, as J90 will need that clutch. You point out very well, DZ, stalwart in this defense. The moment that J90 walks a little bit to his right, he'll be spotted by one of the 2 DZ players. It's PanBazoo to collect it. He's just stat padding at this point. What ultimately settles this between the teams? That's at least what we're looking at based upon the matchup so far. But of course, you don't play the matchup on paper, you play it in the server.
I think if you're call out there, I mean, you know Ventilation's next, because if you look at the bomb site rotation, it's Ventilation 1, Bathroom 1, and then Armory 1. That means Ventilation opens up. It's that or it's custom, so it's very unlikely to be played. So I think if you're Astralis in that timeout, you talk about your exact approach to try and get this round victory on the Ventilation bomb site itself. Because if you get this, you're guaranteed OT at the worst. And at the very best, you win in regulation 7-5, assuming you win the following round after that as well. The one change right now is that DP Fire is in the IQ. You know, Astralis, they are deeming that the information game is too much for them right now. And the thing is, well, DC themselves also made an adaptation, right? They're off the Valkyrie, they only bring the Maestro. The IQ is not super impactful against this, but if you manage to get above, you can deny all of the utility on the bomb site itself, but of course, if you're Astralis, it's the roam clear you need to worry about the most. It's trying to gain top floor control in the first place, which is why we saw DarkZero play Jackal and Dokepi and whatnot, because that usually helps you in the first half of the round, not the last half of the round. And Astralis right now, they need to find early advantages to get inside the map comfortably, like they were in their defenses, but now in their attacks instead.
Canadian caught out by Forrest as he vaults through lobby, and he's gunned down and removed from action. That's 30 seconds in, and of course it's a good start from Astralis. But despite it again being a good start for Astralis, they have 4 of the opening picks through the 5 rounds played on their attack. And just as it happened with DarkZero, just because you don't get that opening pick doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win the round. You can surrender it and then still do well through the mid to late round. So DZ are not in trouble just yet. But I would agree. Astralis needs this. This is a big victory. And nades will be tossed in as they hit those Wamai magnets. The Maestro of Eclipse has repositioned. That's another missed opportunity by Astralis.
It is. I mean, J90 now knows the guy's stuck in the corner inside of archives itself, but they can't really act upon it. But Forest finds another. It's NGR off the board, and now slowly but surely, trouble is starting to come in the house of DC as Pambisu falls next.
This is methodical, and you can see Hyper pull out the sidearm. He's not in a good spot right now, but he has that long-range engagement to take it J9-0. You're going to need more from him, but no! Astralis collapsing on DarkZero, and they find themselves on match point.
They got what they wanted. Timeout taken. Round 1. Now at the very worst, you're guaranteed overtime where you get a little bit more breathing room as you get a chance on both defense and attack. And, well, if you can do this one more time, if you're expecting the ventilation to go back to back, you can repeat this with the timeout information that your coach gave you and see if you can find success. But, oh, would you look at that? Customs being brought up from DC. This is pretty much arguably the last parachute. You said earlier, DC has no parachutes left. I would almost argue that this is like a lifeboat. This is like, oh snap, we're crashing, we're in the water, hit the button right now. That's the Customs bomb site. This is not a bomb site that we see very often, and it's not a bomb site that sees a huge amount of success for the defensive side. So I'm curious to see what DC has in mind, because this is what we call a pocket strat, where you prepare for this worst case scenario, you bring it out, you haven't really shown it that many times before, so it might just work. The Thunderbird on NGR is one of the most pivotal operators in terms of difference. You can play very aggressive, take some damage, get healed back up. It's almost a way to kind of challenge the finger heals, where as long as you stay alive, you will always be healthy in the defense. And look how much setup they've done inside of security itself. They're clearly having a very big preference and trying to hold this successfully, because once security falls, the attackers get full bombs at axis vertically.
One thing to note, by the way, or two things to note, rather.
Two things.
One, this is the first time that Customs has been played on the 3 attempts at border here in NA. Has not shown up yet. We have no stats on it through the 3 times that it's been played. And additionally, at the Charlotte Major, this bomb site was played 1 time, and it was by DarkZero in the final round of the match. DarkZero pulled it out and then won it, and ultimately won border off of it. And, well, it doesn't look like it's going to be repeated anytime soon, as Astralis walks in and absolutely slaughters the 2 players from DarkZero playing up top. Hyper and Eclipse are good as gone, and with still over 2 minutes to go, it's a 5v3 favoring Astralis.
That was too easy. That was like all that setup, all that time, all those resources. One guy jumps in a window, gets basically 2 kills, it's over. And now you gotta really hit the big red emergency button saying, we need to find kills right now. DC needs to be proactive, leverage out, you know, the fact that some members might be isolated, take that 1 versus 1, win that 1 versus 1, and try and get that back to man count. That's what Pambisu did right there, but Astralis playing so far back, not exposing themselves to those 1v1 gunfights, just keeping this advantage.
You know why Pambisu is uniquely situated to do that move that you just saw, Nick?
Because he's the fastest operator in the game?
Because he's the fastest operator in the game. You're damn right. You're absolutely correct. A run out from jail and then back into the safety of the bomb site as Pambisu's position is given away shortly, but that's about it. A minute of quiet between these teams. Setup being done by both. Canadian on the run out.
No
this is
way,
a deep
no
run
way.
out. No, Canadian. How do you miss that? Goodness. Shuttle on 1 HP, but still such a missed opportunity. And now it's DP Fire's attempt to feast on the back lines. He gets 2, and it's iconic to get rid of Pambisu. The timeout for Astralis working wonders. Defender sided or not. It just ultimately was up to DZ to run up the score on their defensive half. They couldn't do it. Astralis settled themselves down, and they walk away with a 7-5 victory. Not just getting the Charlotte